Okay, so don't worry, i-record ko din to. Kasi meron tayong activity dito, class. So this PDF file class, the lesson 4, data types and data structure, this is already uploaded class sa CS323 ano natin, classroom. Okay? So nandito, paki-download na lang po kasi I will discuss this one. Po. So in programming class, we have data types and data structures. So, alam ko, programming 1 pa lang, these are the basic principles class na tinuturo sa atin class sa programming 1 pa lang. Okay po. So, di ba dun sa last lesson natin is diniscuss natin dun yung mga phases class. Opo. Then, dun sa, I think lesson 2 class, yung mga programming paradigm class, diniscuss ko din yun dun. So, especially class dun sa generation 3 and generation 4 class, the first high level programming languages class. So, gumagamit sila class ng data types and data structure. Okay po. So, we have different types class of data types and data structure class. Alam ko class, familiar na kayo dito. Every programming languages class, meron silang ginagamit class na mga data types. So iba-iba yan class. Meron din silang iba't ibang data structures. But the principle there class is iisa lang. Okay? So kung makikita nyo, sometimes class kumalata nyo, kapag meron kayong natutunan or na-master na isang programming languages, then lilipat kayo sa isang programming languages or pag-aaralan ng classes, mas madali na siya class matutunan. Opo. So yung learning curve class, kasi una nating programming language is napakataas. But when you had learned class in programming language class, tapos nag-aral pa kayo ng bagong programming language, so mas madali na po siya. Okay? So, let's start with the different data types and data structures class. Okay? So, we have the constants and variables. So, in short class, constants and variables, ito yung ginagamit natin class. For example, to hold information class, for example, to hold numbers, to hold text. Okay, so meron tayong iba't ibang klase class ng constant and variables. First class is literal constant. So when we says constant class, yung value niya class is hindi nagbabago, constant na. Constant. So, hindi po nagbabago yung value. So, when a set of instruction is given to a computer, the data that need to be processed are normally included in the instruction. Diba? So, kasama na siya class yung data class. For example, nag-add ka ng 2 numbers is, for example, 2 plus 2. So, yung data class is 2 plus 2. Okay? So, included na siya class sa instruction. So, another example class, for example, to compute for the area of a triangle with a base of 10 centimeters and height of 15 centimeters, the instruction would be multiply 10 by 15. Okay, then divide the product by 2. So, we have constant here, constant class here na 10, then 15. Okay, ibig sabihin class, yun yung in-indicate natin na gagawin class ng instruction. So, hindi mababago class yung value nila. Okay, so actual values, whether numbers or character used in a program are called literal. Literal class na constant. So, kung ano yung nakikita nyo class, for example, A is equals to 2. So, 2 class is a constant class. So, it is a literal constant. So, for example naman class is sa mga formula, okay, like dito na lang class, so 2 plus is also a literal constant. So, hindi natin yan pwede baguhin. Opo. So, as the term suggests, these values are taken as is class by the computer and are manipulated directly. Okay? So, meron ba tayong isang tinatawag na constant, yung named constant. Okay? Tandaan class sa literal constant. So, for example, 10, 15, and 2 class, kung ano yung nakikita nyo, so those are their values class. Apo. Pero meron ba tayong tinatawag na name constant? So, these are declared class. Okay? So, sometimes it is difficult for a programmer to keep on typing a value that is used several times in the computer. Okay? So, let's say, for example, class, the pi with the value class of 3.1416. Okay? So, ginagamit natin ito, for example, to get the diameter or radius of circle, di ba? So, kaysa mag-type ka palagi dun sa formula ng times 3.1416 plus, is, i-declare natin siya class na name constant. Okay, so we need an identifier. Okay? So, for example here class, dito na lang tayo sa example. Okay? So, we have a constant. So, magde-declare tayo ng const. So, this is constant. So, ang data type niya class is float. So, pag float class, these are the numbers with decimal places. Apo, then, the pi. Apo, the identifier. So, equals 3.1416. Apo, so, ibig sabihin, nito class is the value of pi class is 3.1416. Okay? So, for example, this one naman, same, nag-declare tayo ng constant, data type na float, then these are the identifiers or the variable names class. Okay, so these are their values class. Okay, so for example is, we will compute, for example, i-multiply natin yung pi sa 2. So, that's 3.1416 times 2. Okay, so, hindi man na, for example, gagawa na tayo ng instruction, we don't need class to type 3.1416 palagi. Okay? Pag naka-name constant na siya, is pwede na natin gamitin yung pi na lang. Okay? So, mas madali na yan. So, a declaration needs to be made in the program in order to associate the term pi with the fixed value of 3.1416. Essentially, declaring a label to have a specific value means that any use of that label automatically refers to the given literal value. So, yung sabi ko nga kanina, na ang value na class ng pi is 3.1416. In case there is a need to use a different value for pi, either to increase or to decrease the number of decimal places, only the values of the declaration need to be changed. Class po. So, ang babaguhin na lang natin dyan, class, is yung sagot na lang, not the mismong constant po. Okay po. So, meron naman tayong tinatawag na variables. Kung doon class sa unang dalawa class, the literal constant and then the name constant. So, meron na silang exact value. So, sa variables class is, tayo class ang maglalagay. Okay? So, they're parang temporary, ano lang sila, temporary storage. Okay? So, not all declaration results in a label becoming permanently associated with a literal constant. Opo. So, meron tayong mga tinatawag na variables na kung saan pwede natin palitan yung laman. So, whenever declarations are made in a program, the actual action done by the computer is to allocate or assign a storage location. So, mag-allocate tayo class. Okay? So, meron na tayong space sa storage class na kung saan wala pa siyang laman pero pwede natin paglagyan class ng information, for example, or data. So, that will be referred to throughout the program by the declared label or identifier. So, there are usually specific rules or conventions that we need to follow when naming identifiers. So, this may vary depending on the program language. If a declared label or identifier is not fixed or permanently associated to a literal value, then the declaration label or identifier is classified as a variable class. Kung wala siyang fixed value class. So, the variable acts as a symbol that your computer program equates to a temporary value stored in a memory location. So, it accepts different values as the program runs. Okay? Hindi katulad class ng literal constant and name constant class na bago natin i-run yung code, for example, dapat may value na sila. But, variable class, kahit nagre-run na yung computer is, kahit walang value, okay lang. So, habang nagre-run yung, yung program class is, pwede natin silang lagyan ng value class. Because of this, variables play an important role in computer programming. They allow programmers to write flexible programs that can handle changing of data class. Rather than encode the actual values directly into a programmer uses variable to represent the data class. Okay? So, dito nagiging flexible class ang program natin. So, hindi ka naman pwede gumawa ng program na ang kaya ni solve lang is 2 plus 2. So, you can create a program that can add 2 numbers, any numbers class. But, kung gagamit ka ng constant, like for example 2 plus 2, yun lang kaya niyang solve. Apo? So, napakahalaga class ng variable. Apo? So, for example, this one. Okay, kanina, di ba, magkaroon tayo ng example dun sa literal constant na 10 times 15 divided by 2. Okay? So, yan lang ang kaya niyang i-solve class. But, using this formula, this instruction class, we can get class the area class using this formula. Same lang class. So 10 is the base, 15 is the height divided by 2. Okay? So ang maganda dito class sa dalawang variable na to class is we can change class the value. Okay? So for example, hindi na 10 and 15 ang gusto kong i-multiply, the base and then the height. For example, gusto ko na is 5 and 7, I can do that class. Okay? Then 5 times 7 divided by 2. So the answer class will be the variable area. Okay? So a variable data type indicated the range of valid values it is capable of storing. Okay? So tandaan ni class na yung variable, yung mga data na ilalagay natin sa variable is dapat tugma kung paano natin dineclare class yung variable. Okay? For example, katulad dito, class. Nag-declare tayo ng constant. So, float class, di ba ang sabi ko kanina, the float class is, it can handle decimal numbers, class, decimal places. Okay? Like 3.1416. So, kapag naglagay ka dyan, class, ng word na, for example, basta mga letters, class, mag-error siya, class. Kasi, float class cannot handle class characters or letters class. Okay po. So, yun ang sinasabi dito class. Okay? So, we have different data types class. So, medyo konti nga dito. There are programming languages class na kung saan napakaraming data type ang pwede nyo gamitin. Okay? So, these are the elementary data types class. So, the different kinds of data that a program works with are classified into different data types. Opo. So, below is a table that shows common elementary data types class. Okay? So, by elementary, we mean that this data type refer only to scalar or single values. Okay? So, napakarami kasi class, depende sa programming language. Napakaraming data types. Okay? So, let's start with the numerical data type. Okay? So, in numerical class, this is the int type sa C++. Okay, int type. So, data represented by numbers. So, int type class, for example, sa C++, if you want to declare ngaya A as a numerical variable class na kung saan mag-handle siya ng numbers, you need to declare int A equals 2 ngayon, for example. Okay, so these are the examples class. So, sa numerical classes, kasama dyan yung decimal, kasama dyan yung float. Okay? Example kanina. We also have the characters. So, the character class composed only of a single character, enclosed in single or double quote. So, pag magde-declare tayo nito, we can use the class the char. For example, sa C++, the char. For example, B. Char B is equals to single quote ngayon, for example, T. Tapos, single quote again, then semicolon. Okay? So, single letter only. So, sa string naman class is words. Okay? Any numbers of characters, including numbers and special characters, enclosed in single or double codes. Okay? So, pwede rin dito class yung numbers. But, hindi nyo yung class pwedeng hindi nyo yung class pwedeng i-compute. Okay? So, for example, string C is equals to 5. You cannot use C class to add, for example, C plus 2, mag-error siya class because hindi numerical class yung data type ng string. So, anong paggagamitan yung class nung, for example, nung 5 na yun, C is equals to 5. So, it is considered class as anong tawag dun? Text. Okay, so naka-text siya class. Ibig sabihin, like for example, yung example natin dito, the number class, telephone number. So those are not numbers class. So, hindi nyo naman yung gagamitin to compute. So, pwede nyo siyang i-declare class as string class. So we have, ayan, for example, the email address, the word tech factors, tech kids, so those are strings class. For example, class database class is mga names ngayon ng user, passwords. So, those are string data types. Okay, we have the Boolean class. So, Boolean class, there are only two values, true or false, or 0 and 1 class. So, that's Boolean class. So, you can use that class if condition class. So, kapag false, that's 0. Kapag true, that's 1. Okay? So, we also have the date or time. So, minsan kasi halo ito class na string and numerical data types class. And then, sometimes class is the date or time, you can compute class. So, sa date and time kasi, like April 30, 2005, you can use this data type class, for example, to compute for the age. Maglalagay kayo ng present date ngayon, for example, and then yung birthday class. Pwede nyo magamit yung class sa pag-compute class ng age. Okay? So, those are the basic or the elementary data types class. So, depending on the specific programming language, some or all of these elementary data types could be supported by that language. Yun nga sabi ko kanina. So, minsan class, mas marami pa, depende sa programming language, ang pwede nating ilagay na data types. Some programming languages provide several additional variants, okay, for numerical data types. Like, for example, class is signed and unsigned. Pag sinabi natin signed is merong plus sign or minus sign, positive and negative numbers. Pag unsigned class, so those are the normal letters. We also have the short and long. Okay, so for example, short numbers class depende sa programming language. For example, the short is maikli lang ng numbers. For example, hanggang million lang. Kapag nasa trillion na class, you need to use the long. For example, the long int. We also have the double class. So sa double naman class is ganun din merong tawag dito, decimal places. Okay? So, let's go here, class, for example, numerical data type. We have 3 variants class. For example, the integers class. So, the integers class is the whole number, without any decimal or fractional part. Okay? So, we also have the decimal class. So, meron na siya class na decimal places. So, the float class, so the float is, you can use here class the decimal place. You can also add here the, the signed numbers, negative. For example here, the negative 111.5. Okay? So, for example naman, you don't need class to use float kasi mas malaki ang storage, kinakaya nyo sa storage. You can use decimal only. So, let's go to structured data types. So, most programming languages also implement data types that are capable of representing more than just scalar values. A structured data types refer to a number of distinct data items of distinct types grouped together into one unit. Okay? So, the best example here, class, is the array. kung matatandaan nyo class, array class, isang variable lang siya. Di ba kung matatandaan nyo class, in a scalar or elementary data type classes, you can only store one type or isang class ng information. For example, string name is equals to Leomir. Okay? So, yun lang pwedeng ma-store mo doon yung Leomir. But in an array class, para siyang list. Okay? So, isang variable lang siya class. So, meron siyang different storage areas. Okay? So, meron siyang tinatawag na index class. So, for example, name with an index class na 0, pwede ka maglagay doon ng value. Name na may index na 1, another value. Okay? Depende sa size. For example, nag-declare ka ng array na may size na 10, you can put their class 10 information class. Okay po? So, for example, this one. Okay? We have R or array underscore member. So, may index siya. So, these are the reference class kung paano nyo kukunin or i-declare class. Apo. So, array member 0 class, itong laman niya, Alvin Ramirez. Okay? So, kung makikita nyo class, mas marami class na marami kayong mailalagay na data class sa isang array. So, medyo mas tricky lang siya class kapag magsisave na information dito. And then kapag ipiprint nyo na yung output. Okay? You can use class the for loop class, for example, class. Opo, para mag-increment or decrement. Okay? So, using for loop, mababago yung mga values na yan nila. Itong mga numbers na to. Okay? So, for example, mag-increment tayo. So, kung ipiprint natin, unang ikot ng for loop class, this one, ang mag-a-appear. So, magpa-plus 1 siya. Next naman class, ito ang mag-a-appear. RGAsynto. Hanggang makaabot siya sa pang-pito class. Okay? Tandaan class na sa array class is nagsisimula siya sa 0. Okay? So, for example, nag-declare kayo ng array na may 8 na size, hanggang 7 lang class yung index niya. Apo. So, this is a one-dimensional class. Yes. This is one-dimensional. Okay, so we also have I think this is two-dimensional. Parang mali itong book. Yes, I think this is. Okay, so this is one-dimensional. So, pwede pa rin tayo class maglagay ng two-dimensional. Okay? So, sa two-dimensional class is, kung makikita nyo, index nila dalawa. Okay? So, one for the student name, and then the other one class, the other index class is for position. Okay? So, pwede rin tayo mag-store dyan class ng position. For example, Alvin Ramirez is the picture editor. So, this is the index class 01. While Alvin Ramirez is 00. RGAsynto is 1 and 0. News editor is 1 and 1. Okay? Kung makikita nyo, mas marami kayong pwedeng mailagay. But this is difficult na class 2. Kung lalo kung nakalimutan nyo na kung paano nyo ginawa yung array classes, mahirapan kayong intindihin na yung class. Okay? So, this is two-dimensional. Ibig sabihin, isang address lang class, pwede tayo maglagay ng dalawang info. Okay? So, since the example array above has two dimensions, student name and position, we need two indices to correctly identify the dimension we refer to. Okay? So, ito yung two index natin na ginagamit. Okay? So, let's proceed here. A record class is a data structure that groups together several related data items, possibly of different data types, into one unit. So, these data items or fields are related because they describe or pertain to the same object. Okay, class. Okay, so, kung gumagawa na kay class ng database sa software engineering nyo class, a record class is the design of your database class. Okay, for example, gumagamit yan ng Access. So, we also have here, for example, the student number. Okay, this is a unique identifier class. Okay, so, kung makikita nyo class, iba-iba yung data types nila. We have the age, we have the string, Okay, year is, for example, this is integer, for example. So, this is string class. Okay, this is string. Okay, so, yan. Okay, for example, this is database section. So, for example, we have here 3 database. This is for the students. Okay, lahat ng info ng students. We have here the sections, lahat ng sections. So, dito naman class is the database ng teacher class. Okay po. A student may be referred to as an entity with multiple characteristic or attributes class. Okay? So, dun sa isang column class, isang estudyante lang yan, for example. Dito, isang section. Dito, isang teacher class. Opo. So, yan, example natin. Yan, for example, student, that's student num. This one. Okay? So, year, section, gender, and age class. So, that's all class. So, in programming class, computers manipulate data. There are different kinds of data that computers can deal with, ranging from numerical to character to date and time and logical values. Okay? So, we have here some words class na pwede niyong tandaan. Opo, so basahin na lang po yan dun sa PDF niyo. Okay, for your activity class, okay, I want you, nasaan na yung ano ko, to show me class kung paano nyo dinesign class yung database ng software engineering nyo. Okay? So, for example class, okay, bigyan ko kayo ng example. Ibigay ko na ng example yung kay Ashley. For example, si Ashley is merong database for the name of the student. Opo. For example, name. Okay, maglalagay sa Excel na lang class ha. Name of student. Okay. Another, i-copy ko na lang para hindi na siya mawala. So, kakopy ko na lang siya. For example, another sheet for example, is the grades of the students. Okay, balik tayo sa name of student class. Or, student info pala, Student, hindi na magana. Student info. Okay. So, ano ba yung mga variables na ginamit ng class? Opo. So, yung name. Okay, so lagyan ko dito variable name. Class, ito po yung apat na column na wait lang. So, these are the okay. So, ito yung apat na column na gagamitin yung class. Okay? So, kung wala pa kayo ginagawang database is iisipin nyo ano ba yung mga ilalagay nyo. Okay, sa database nyo. Kung may database na kayo class, pwede nyo ilagay na lang yun. For example, class, this is your unique identifier, the student num. Okay, for example. So, what is its data type? Depende class sa ginagamit nyo na programming language. For example, class sa C++ is I'll use string na ya. Okay? So, description class, this is, for example, this is the unique identifier. Pag sinabi natin unique identifier, so wala siyang kaparehas class. Example class, for example, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? Next class, for example, is after student name is the student name. So, for example, the student name is, this is also a string. Pwede nyo pag-iwalay yung class, kung hiwala yung first name, middle initial, and surname class is, pwede nyo pag-iwalay yan. So, for example, stud name, this will, for example, store the name of the student. Okay? So, example, Leomir. Okay? Next, student course. Okay, so this is also a string. For example, stores, the course of the student. Po, for example is BSCS. Okay, another example class is year. Okay, stud year. So dito sa variables name classes, kung ano yung nakalagay sa database nyo class, yun na rin ang ilalagay nyo dito. For example, stud year. For example, this is int ngayon. So stores the year level of the student. Okay, so dapat ngayon class, kung wala pa kayo, mahalaga din to class at least na maiisip nyo na class kung ano yung mga information na kailangan nyo ilagay. So for example, 3 or 3, magagamit kayo ng tawag dito, Roman numerals class. Okay, so for example, 3 or 3. Okay, so this will be your activity class. Apo. So this is for CS323. I'll create an assignment. Plus, kung may tanong, magtanong po. 3 na lang pati kayo. Opa, napakasimple lang naman class ng gagawin. I-upload ko tuloy ito. Okay, kung may iba pa kayo class na mga database, marami kayong tables class database, ihiwalay nyo sila. Opo. Okay, so, saan ko nakasave? Database. Okay, so this is our activity class. Apo. So, kukunin nyo lang yung class dun sa ginagawa nyo yung software engineering project. Okay po. Okay. So, class for our CS Elect 2 na lang, ganito na lang po. So, no, CS 1 pala, CS Select 1. So hindi na tayo class magdi-discuss. Can you please read the history class of 3D animation? So next week class quiz tayo, short quiz tayo dun sa lesson 1. Yung diniscuss natin last week class, di ba? So, saan bagay? Okay, this one. Okay, so di ba we discussed class the overview class of 3D animation. Okay? So, we have here the film, the television, advertisement class, sa medicine class, sa law, architecture. We also have the augmented reality. We have the projection mapping class. So, ito yung please read class. Page, start with the history of 3D animation class. Start with page 10 up to page 10 up to page 19. Okay? So, that will be our asynchronous class. Mamaya, meron kayong program. So, bukas, ito na lang muna ang gawin. Opo. So, kung may printer kayo class, pwede nyo i-print, or kung naka-laptop kayo, may battery naman class, basahin na muna po ito. Opo. Or kung sa Sunday, kasi next week pa naman tayo mag-quiz. Okay po? So, we will enter meeting class, mag-11 na. So, any questions pa po? Marian, Ashley, and Sean? So, let's have a summary class ng tatlong lesson. So, in CS323, okay, class. So, in CS323 class, we discuss data types and data structure. So, for your activity class, gagawa kayo, papakita nyo sa akin yung database design nyo. Opo, paano nyo class ginawa yung database nyo. Okay, this is for CS323. So, this is also recorded class. Okay, next class is for CS Elect 1 naman class is please read na lang class yung PDF file natin, this one, 3D Animation Essentials, and please read the 3D animation history, page 10 to 19. Okay? So, sa Synfig naman class, CS2, CS Elect 2 class is we discuss, may recorded video din to class, mamaya upload ko. We discuss class the how to insert. Yung una muna, yung tungkol dun sa switch. Okay, so nagka-problema tayo class sa sound. Okay, so we use Blender class to parang lalagyan natin class ng audio yung animation na ginawa natin sa Synfig. Also class, so after that we discuss class the ZDepth. Okay? So, paano mapapalitan yung ZDepth ng isang layer, for example. Okay? So, we also have class the ZDepth activity. Dun sa ZDepth activity class is, gagawa kayo ng parang, sabihin na natin na solar system, sample solar system. So, kanina nagkaroon tayo ng example na kung saan class, gumawa tayo ng animation na kung saan may isang this one, for example, may isang planet na re-revolve class sa for example, isang star. Okay? So, from using ZDepth class, nailagay natin siya sa front ng yung parang star natin and then dun sa likod. Okay? So, nagkaroon tayo ng parang animation na nagre-revolve yung isang planet sa isang star. Okay po, students? So, ilalagay ko na lang yung mga reminders sa GC natin. So, tandaan na lang po. Okay po? So, wala na pong question?
Wala na po.
Okay. Tandaan na lang po siguro ang medyo matrabaho niya lang gagawin ngayon is yung sa Synfig, yung animation. 1 week pa naman yun, class. And then, class, wag palang kalimutan, please upload the .mov file dun plus sa anong activity natin yun? Activity 5 natin, yung mount animation. Please, kasi dito sa sinubmit nyo class, wala ako napapanood. Yung dito lang kay Sean kasi naka-AVI siya. So, I need the video class. So, using Blender for example, class, nandun yung pag i-combine na natin yung video and then yung audio. Using the video editor class sa Blender. Okay po. So, that's all class. So, ganito class, kung brown out tomorrow class, wala tayong pasok. Pero kung may pasok class, kahit mag-meet lang tayo ng 1 hour, opo, mag-meet lang tayo ng 1 hour tomorrow. Hindi ko alam kung may ano tayo. Ika, i-edit ko, baka mamayang hapon. Hindi na, Marian, hindi na po. Yung ano na lang, yung video na lang, yung ganito na lang po. For example, 'di ba, na ano na natin na render. So may sound na. Okay, yun na po. Ito na lang po. Yung Blender file, wag na pong isama yun. Apo. So, if you want po, Marian, for example, ayaw mong gamitin Blender, may Movie Maker ka kasi mas madaling gamitin. Pwede mo naman gamitin yan. Apo. Pero, at least, marunong na kayong mag-edit class. You can use Blender class to edit your videos class. Apo. Medyo mabigat na lang ang Blender. Apo. Tapos, class, yung sa CS Elect 1, just read lesson 1 class. Apo. Short quiz tayo next week. Pero bukas, kung may pasok man tayo bukas class, hindi pa ako mag-quiz sa CS Elect 1. Okay po, bukas puro reminders lang muna tayo. Opo, lalo na wala yung dalawa ngayon, si Renzo tapos si Neil. Okay, students? So, para makapag-prepare, anong oras actually yung seminar nyo mamaya? 2 to 4?
2 p.m. po.
Okay, wag na tayong pumasok mamaya para makapag-prepare naman po kayo. Opo. So, excuse naman na kayo niyan at meron naman kayong may seminar naman kayo. Okay po, students? So, magbibigay na lang ako reminder sa GC natin. Mga gagawin na po. Okay, so thank you so much class. Opo, siguro see you tomorrow. Hopefully, kung wala, mas okay nga yan class. Naibigay ko naman lahat ngayon na kailangan gawin. So, hopefully class, next week na tayo mag-meet. Okay? Para makapag-rest din tayo tomorrow. So, thank you so much class. So, see you tomorrow or see you on next week class. Bye-bye po. Sige na po.
Bye, sir.
Bye-bye po. Good luck mamaya.
Bye, sir.
Good luck po mamaya.